Little is much when God is in it. Greetings. My name is Timm. I'm the pastor of Christ Community Church of the South Hills. I'm a vocational coach and a spiritual director. And it's great to be with you for today's Lenten lunch. It is the season of Lent. And if you're here in Western Pennsylvania, you know it is the season for Lenten fish fries. Churches all around our region, every Friday. It's a big thing here in Western Pennsylvania. I have to admit, I've lived in Pittsburgh for 50 years, and I never once have attended a Friday Lenten fish fry. At least I've never done it here in Western Pennsylvania. Because you see, I grew up in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin is known for the Wisconsin fish fry. It starts with beer-battered lake perch or walleye, some German potato pancakes, and coleslaw. And of course, you have to have rye bread. That's what sets apart the Wisconsin fish fry, the rye bread. Fish and bread, it's a staple of so many diets and so many different cultures. And our story today is all about some fish and some bread. You can find our text in Mark chapter 6, beginning in verse 30. Let me read the word of God to us today. The apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to him all they had done and taught. Then, because so many people were coming and going that they didn't even have a chance to eat, Jesus said to them, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." And so they went away by themselves in a boat to a solitary place. But many who saw them leaving recognized them and ran on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them. I love that verse. Jesus had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. And so he began to teach them many things. By this time, it was late in the day, so his disciples came to him. "This is a remote place," they said, "and it's already very late. Send the people away so that they can go to the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat." But Jesus answered, You give them something to eat." And they said to him, "That would take more than half a year's wages. Are we to go out and spend that much on bread and give it to them to eat?" "How many loaves do you have?" Jesus asked. "Go and see." And they found five loaves and two fish. And then Jesus directed them to have all the people sit down in groups on the green grass. So they sat down in groups of hundreds and fifties, and taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking to heaven, Jesus gave thanks. He broke the loaves, and then he gave them to his disciples to distribute to the people. He also divided the 2 fish among them, and they all ate, and they all were satisfied. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. There's so many things in this text that we could unpack, but I want to come back to my opening statement. Little is much when God is in it. You see, the disciples here were working from what I call a scarcity mentality. There's a large crowd of people here, and they're hungry. We got to send them away. They got to fend for themselves. We don't have the resources to meet the needs of these people. Jesus says, you give them something to eat. And they're like, what are we going to do? There's so many people here would take, 6 months of a salary to go out to the local 7-Eleven and buy enough bread to give them something to eat. And that would just be the simplest means of sustenance. Jesus shifts the disciples from a scarcity mentality and points to the posture of God, who has an abundant resource storehouse. "How many loaves do you have?" Jesus said. And they said, "We have 5. And we've actually found a couple of fish." And then Jesus does something beautiful. He says, "You guys, you send them out, have them sit down in groups of 50s and 100s. And Jesus takes what they bring to him, the little that they bring to him, 5 loaves and 2 fish for thousands, And Jesus, he does something here that's reminiscent of what he will do later at the Last Supper. He looks to heaven, he thanks God for the little that they've brought to him, and he starts breaking the loaves. And he starts handing the food to the disciples. He takes the fish and the bread, and Mark tells us simply that all of those people, that mega crowd, they all ate. And not only did they eat, they were all satisfied. See, Jesus is inviting them to live with a different mentality. Stop living with a scarcity mindset and step into the abundance of God. And that's the invitation that I bring to you today. Where do you have a scarcity mindset? Where is there a space in your life where you're just like, I don't have enough. I don't have anything. I don't have capacity. I don't have resources. I don't have the influence to make any real substantive change in the world. Little is much when God is in it. As you think about what is in your hand, would you be willing to offer that to Jesus and to begin to trust that whatever you have, when you partner with God, God invites us, Jesus invites us into this co-mission. I'll take the little that you have, but I can make much of it. And you can make a real difference in the world. Today, why don't you pause? Think about that space, that relationship, the work, the place where you feel like you simply do not have enough, and invite God to make much of it for his glory and the blessing of other people. Because, my friends, little is much when God is in it. I want to close with a poem from David White. And I just really feel like this is important to share. When Mark texted me the other day, my assignment, this Mark 6 text, I was like, great, I love it. It's a beautiful story. About 1 minute later, in my inbox came a poem by David White entitled Loaves and Fishes. This is not the age of information. This is not the age of information. Forget the news and the radio and the blurred screen. This is the time of loaves and fishes. People are hungry, and one good word is bread for 1,000. Ponder that. Think on that. And the truth is this: little is much when God is in it.